Super Mario Galaxy is a weird game. It was one of the first two real video games I ever played, along with Smash 64, so as a kid I took most of the strangeness for granted. Much has been written and said on the atmosphere of the game, a sort of melancholic loneliness, vast, dark expanses populated by small planets with the occasional inhabitant. The Comet Observatory and Rosalina having both a feeling of cozy, home-like vibes, while still having an air of mystery and otherworldliness, a garden floating above an endless black expanse, mystical and powerful, but entirely dependent on you, Mario, the player, to help these star children survive. The galaxies have this feeling of abandonment to them. Battle Rock and Dreadnought galaxies, giant, abandoned machines of war with no known creators or purpose. Battle Rock even has some broken cannons, implying that it was in a conflict at some point. Bone Fin Galaxy, a single planet with an abandoned toad ship orbiting it with nothing but a living pile of bones. The first real level, Good Egg Galaxy, with a house right at the start and the ominous message, gone for a long time, and then the interior of the house is just a void. The opening of the game, Gateway Galaxy, and the famous zoom out at the start of the game. As a kid, all of this had my imagination running wild with questions. Who built all this? How old is Rosalina if she visits the Mushroom Kingdom every 100 years? Once Lumas transform into launch stars or sling stars or planets, do they lose their sentience? Pink Lumas and galaxies, once they turn into planets, remain as just a launch star and planet, but pink Lumas in the observatory appear to be able to transform back and forth. Galaxy 2 has Lumas still able to talk once they transform, but Galaxy 2 also has a Luma whose entire job is to convert power stars into fuel? The green Lumas populate one by one when you find green power stars, so that implies power stars are both sentient and able to revert to being Lumas? Many questions, not many answers. Of course, I remembered all this, replaying the game for the first time in, 9 years or so. And unlike when I replayed it that time, this time I was actually going to 100% it, playing the whole game again as Luigi. Even though I remembered it from when I was a kid, the entire universe dying in a black hole was still wild to watch. One minute you've defeated Bowser and are flying through the cosmos romantically with Peach, as Bowser Jr. falls to his death in the background. How could you, Mario? And then bam, everything is falling apart. I remember watching this ending cutscene for the first time when playing it with a friend in elementary school. The old TV we were playing on just didn't have the greatest picture quality, and this was before I knew how to use YouTube, so I just had to take his word that you could see the observatory that you've painstakingly spent the entire game trying to restore, crumbling into individual pieces here, and yeah, you totally can. And then all the Lumas throw themselves into the vortex, sacrificing themselves to turn not into launch stars or power stars or planets, but galaxies, rebuilding the entire universe from scratch, save for those of us there to witness its end. Rosalina seemingly transcending her physical form and explaining that the universe simply does this every now and again, before bam, you're back at the Star Festival, except everyone you've met on your journey up till this point is here, villains included, celebrating together as Rosalina from across the starry skies tells Mario that all new life carries the essence of stars. Welcome, welcome, new galaxy. Roll credits. What an insane ending. Suddenly, everything seeming old and abandoned makes more sense. The universe was actually coming to an end, though by age, or simply the destiny of Bowser messing up by messing with dark matter and attempting to artificially create a new galaxy is unclear, and it was time for everything to be redone anyways. I also note that the new galaxy Mario refers to appears to be exclusively made of components from Good Egg Galaxy and Gusty Garden Galaxy, implying some sort of cosmic remixing, though the Mushroom Kingdom also appears to be a part of this new galaxy. It's an incredibly existential ending for a Mario game, but as an elementary schooler, this is all Mario was to me. And also the guy in New Soup DS, I guess. Playing the game now in my 20s, all of this existential dread felt all the more weighty, and I had a great time playing it. I remembered all this though, none of it felt new to me. You know what was new though? The implication that the entire game is a time loop with Rosalina ensuring she always grows up to be in the position she is. The implication that Super Luigi Galaxy is both canonical and a deliberate creation by Rosalina. This is all the weird stuff I want to talk about today, with whatever the heck is going on in Super Mario Galaxy. So, Super Luigi Galaxy. It's kind of famous, or maybe infamous, for just how out of the blue it is. Obviously I remembered it existed, I'd played through it once as a kid, and also it kind of exists as a meme now. While I knew it was a thing, 100% the game and you get the privilege of doing it all over again with basically nothing changed except you play as Luigi, I hadn't really recalled exactly how it's implemented. Reopen your save file after getting the ending, and the number that previously tracked how many power stars you need to get to Bowser now tracks how many you need to get to, quote, another world. Rosalina also welcomes you back, which raises questions as to, what exactly is happening canonically? Personally, I like to think that this is like the old timeline, existing separately from the new galaxy that Mario welcomes, but really, who knows? Rosalina can probably just break the fourth wall like that. And trying to overanalyze these games, there's quite a few moments where characters talk to you, the player, directly, like telling you to shake the remote to spin or point to use pole stars, for example. So it can be a bit hard to tell what's like diegetic and what's made for the player. That's why Rosalina saying that you need to get all 120 power stars to go to another world is so interesting to me, because it's not framed like a tutorial, but something in-universe. It's not get all the power stars to unlock a new secret, it's we can go to another world. There's the implication of travel, the implication of purpose. Which leads me to my first observation. Is the Luigi timeline canon? Is the Luigi timeline deliberately sought out by Rosalina? That's kind of the implication, right? I feel this is further suggested to be the case in that once you get all of the power stars, it's not an immediate unlock. Rosalina instead tells you that you have to go rescue your special one first, so fight Bowser at the center of the universe again. Or rather, since she definitely knows how that fight will end, perhaps she's instead asking you to end the universe, beginning the cycle all over again. This makes the most sense, I think. Resetting the entire universe definitely seems to be going to another world in a manner of speaking. I remembered that this was something you had to do to trigger Super Luigi Galaxy, but I didn't recall that there's an extra cutscene. The credits play out much the same, except for many of the images in the credit roll are different, some even showing you a playable Luigi. I like this detail, I think it's cute. After that, however, there's an entirely new cutscene, one with Rosalina seemingly thanking you, the player, directly, and saying she'll watch over you from the stars. It's also the most direct display of the connection between Gateway Galaxy and the Observatory, with Rosalina walking through the house on one end and showing up in the observatory on the other. Most noteworthy about this cutscene, however, is the ending, where you see the observatory take off from somewhere behind the Gateway planet, only for it to reveal a rusted, vegetation-covered toad ship remaining on the planet. The camera moves in, and we see that Illuma has been left behind, who floats up from the ship, alone on an empty planet. I had completely forgotten about this cutscene. I remember now that as a kid, I took it basically at face value. You know, oh gosh, Rosalina left behind one of the Lumas, and just kind of left it at that. As someone who isn't, like, 8 years old anymore, though, most of the time, she definitely did this on purpose, right? It's exactly what's shown in the start of Rosalina's storybook, where she, as a young girl, finds a lone Luma and an abandoned mushroom starship. As a kid, I assumed that the reason the Lumas build the Starshroom for the Toads the way they do was because this was the original vessel, but now it seems obvious that the Starshroom is a time paradox. The Lumas build it for the Toads for the simple reason that it looks like them, and then once the adventure is over, Rosalina leaves it and the Luma behind, presumably for her child self to find. The mama that the Luma in the story is looking for is Rosalina, who abandoned them to ensure that the events play out the same way, so that Rosalina will always grow up to be the princess of the cosmos. Side note, but the storybook made me cry even when I was a kid, and now as an adult it made me, like, really, really cry. Why is this in a Mario game? It's literally the greatest thing ever. This makes the timeline on things a little confusing, and also means that there's presumably both an adult and child Rosalina existing concurrently, but I think this has to be what's being implied here, right? It's the only thing that makes any sense. Anyways, this emotional and confusing cutscene abruptly ends with the greatest pop-up of all time.
Super Luigi Galaxy!
Enter Luigi time. Luigi Galaxy is weird. I remember that it was weird, but it's really weird. First, no Star Festival. We start in the Gateway Galaxy with no indication as to how we got there. Everything plays out exactly the same as we get to the observatory, including every tutorial, despite the fact that you'd only be here if you've already beaten the game. The most weird thing is, in fact, how little is different. Rosalina still refers to rescuing, quote, your special one, which would imply that Luigi and Peach are a pair in this timeline? Or perhaps it's just a really special princess-plumber bond, who can say? In fact, there's direct evidence to the contrary about Luigi and Peach being a pair here, and that the letters from Peach are still addressed to Mario. This is actually the only mention of Mario in this entire half of the game. The male Toad recognizes Mario, so clearly he's a known figure still, but there's never any mention of his whereabouts or anything aside from this interaction. Speaking of the Toads, when you rescue them, they mention getting lost in space with Luigi, the same way they do when playing as Mario. When you finally get to the galaxy where you rescue Luigi, there's still no change in the dialogue. They talk about finding signs of Luigi in the galaxy despite, talking to you directly. This, of course, leads to the famous moment of realizing that yes, you do still rescue Luigi, who calls for Mario upon seeing you for some reason. I guess I lied. This is the last mention of Mario, so I guess they're still brothers in this timeline. And when you do rescue him, interestingly, NPC Luigi doesn't acknowledge you as the same entity, instead saying the universe is big enough for someone to look just like him. Of course, when you go back to the observatory, Rosalina refers to him as your twin, and as you rescue Luigi from the 3 other locations, he does start to acknowledge you as also being him, calling you me, not to be confused with the Mies. Related, but you also only get the option to put Luigi as your save file icon once you can play as him, though there's no notification that this is an option, you just have to check for yourself. Speaking of rescuing Luigi, did you know that there's special dialogue if you die before rescuing him? I did this on Honey Hive Galaxy, where he comments on hearing a scream that sounds just like him. This is both funny and existentially terrifying, as it seems to imply that deaths are canon. Time does not rewind upon dying. See also the first time you get a 1-up, which is you get, quote, an extra Mario or an extra Luigi as applicable. Perhaps there are 2 Luigis in Luigi Galaxy because of this, what do I know? Also worth noting that this is rephrased in Galaxy 2 to a more generic extra life instead of extra Mario. The last weird thing about Luigi Galaxy is that Luigi appears to be Bowser's rival instead of Mario. There's no change dialogue here, no indication that Luigi fighting Bowser is anything out of the ordinary, and Bowser even has the same line about picking the right guy to be his archenemy. Again, where the heck is Mario? Why does Peach still write to him if it's apparently Luigi that always fights Bowser? Why does Rosalina still call Peach your special one, and there's never any correction about that? Honestly, things would be less weird if Peach were writing to you, if Mario seemingly never existed at all. Peach also mails you 20 1-ups instead of the 5 you get in Mario Galaxy, which would make sense if you were writing to Luigi, you know, thinking he would need more help than Mario or something. Instead, it just feels weird, because Luigi's controls being a little slippery doesn't really make the game any harder, especially considering that you have to have already beaten it to even be here. I do enjoy that when you finally go to rescue Peach, Rosalina and Peach's lines are actually changed to call out for Luigi instead of Mario, though Peach's lack of surprise kinda makes it sound like she's used to getting rescued by him. Anyways, things play out the same. Luigi and Peach romantically murder Bowser Jr. before the entire universe once again resets via total obliteration. Welcome, welcome to Galaxy. The only difference is that Luigi gives a thank you for playing my game instead of Mario's thank you so much for playing my game. This is because Luigi is an ungrateful piece of shit. Past this, it's exactly the same as last time. Rosalina welcomes you back and once again tells you to get all the Power Stars to, once again, go to another world. The text is even still in green, though probably just because it's all reused dialogue since you're not like unlocking Luigi Galaxy again or I don't know, Yoshi Galaxy or something. Gotta wait for Galaxy 2 for that one. From here, it's still rinse and repeat, get all the Power Stars, defeat Bowser again, and the other world we get to is none other than the Mushroom Kingdom, returning to the Star Festival, a lovely bookend, ending the game exactly where we started. Which is all sweet and poetic and good until you realize it means the game either took place in 1 day or 100 years, since the festival is a once every 100 years event. I'd be tempted to say that perhaps this other world is one in which the entire adventure never happened, but the level largely focuses on the Toad Brigade getting promoted for their heroics, so it definitely happened. Another explanation could be that this is simply a second Star Festival, after all with the excitement of not 1 but 2 universe resets, or 4 depending on what you think is canon. It seems fair for Rosalina and the Observatory to linger around a bit longer, as it is indeed shown to be her visitation that causes the star bits to rain down and the festival to occur. This level is also, like, really weird. It doesn't show up on the map in the observatory, and there's no indication as to how exactly you access it. I'm glad I remembered where it was, but if you didn't, you'd really just have to wander the observatory until you think to check the trial planet, because the way you access it is via a 4th Green Luma who has since appeared on the far side of the planet. Does this imply that the Mushroom Kingdom is a trial galaxy? A galaxy out of reach of the observatory normally requiring all this extra effort to access? I'd think not, since Gateway Galaxy is also implied to be the Mushroom Kingdom, or at the very least right next to the Mushroom Kingdom, since it's where Rosalina is visiting when the Star Festival occurs, and Mario is also able to arrive there by being blasted into space at the start of the game. Maybe it's a trial galaxy because the trial in question was, you know, getting all 240 Power Stars. Additionally, though it's unspecified, to actually 100% the game, you need to play as Mario for the first time in 121 Power Stars to find that yes, the festival is accessible to him as well, and completing it as both brothers completes the game, and gives you little sparklies around your save file. This means that the actions Luigi takes in his timeline, which, again, was presumably deliberately created by Rosalina, are able to affect Mario in the original timeline, which, again, is seemingly able to exist in spite of the universe resetting. Was the original goal to get access to the Star Festival again? To take Mario and or Luigi home? Since the cutscene of Rosalina abandoning Illuma only appears with 120 Power Stars, was that an event that only happens with full Power Stars and what Rosalina meant by another world? There are infinitely more questions than answers, and I can't stop thinking about any of it while playing. I like to think that Galaxy 2 is another permutation of the cycle after Galaxy 1, especially since Rosalina shows up there with the observatory, presumably meaning that she abandoned her own Luma to ensure she'd grow up to still be the guardian of the starry skies or whatever. While the logical answer for all of these oddities is probably just that the developers thought it would be cool for you to be able to play as Luigi and ran out of time to implement something more elegant, like the much nicer option to switch between the two brothers in Galaxy 2 once you pass a certain point in game progression, but it's much more fun to think that it were all canon and well planned. While Luigi Galaxy is a little too weird to be nicely considered as canon or anything super deliberate, the bit about Rosalina orchestrating a time loop definitely isn't. These elaborate animated cutscenes show intent and planning, especially the whole model for the rusted version of the Toad ship. The only question is why? While the idea of Rosalina always being destined to become the Princess of the Stars fits the theme of rebirth introduced in the ending of the game, the recontextualization of the storybook is a bit harder of a pill for me to swallow. What has always been an incredibly moving tragedy to me is suddenly a story that was always destined to happen. The answer to this, I think, is in interpreting the story more optimistically. I've always been focused on how much of a tearjerker it is, with Rosalina crying, missing her mother, and the lost Luma never getting proper closure. But this isn't really what the story is about. Rosalina's mother was already gone, and the lost Luma was never actually alone, and actually with its mother the whole time. Both children got to grow up with one another, find their place in the universe, and help both one another and the rest of the Lumas. With the Luma from the story transforming into a comet for the observatory to be built on, the Luma sort of is the observatory, likely the beacon at the very center. Rather than focusing on the Luma being deliberately abandoned, I choose to focus on the fact that, in every world, Rosalina and the Lost Luma have one another. Their family is strong enough to persist no matter how many times the universe ends. It's a much more serious message than usual for the Mario franchise, kind of the only serious message in the mainline series actually, but it also parallels Mario saving Peach in every world as well, if you'll allow me to be overly serious about the rest of the franchise for a moment. I'm incredibly grateful that I got to grow up with this very unique game, and glad to have revisited it at an age where I'm more able to take in the themes. With the games available on the Switch now as well, I'm glad more people will have the chance to experience it, and I'm sure some kid somewhere is having their mind blown by the finale. I'm still never gonna watch the movie though, you can't make me, Nintendo. Thanks for watching.